All right, guys, today we are going to be reacting to Rachel Wilson makes dominant woman change her mind on submissions. Jump in.
Question. So I understand what you're saying. Like, I understand your point of view now. I'm getting a better aspect on it. But also, I would say, how do you feel like, you're really lucky to be with, Andrew. Like, you guys have been together for 17 years, but, when people also have children with someone and maybe even more than one child, and they leave. The man leaves. Then what?
That's what happened to me.
Yeah. So, how did you, I think you said that, yeah. So how did you, do with that? What did it say, you never met Andrew? You know what I mean? What would you have, how did you get yourself out of a situation like that?
Yeah, Kevin Samuels used to talk about this. It's women going through the world with fear. There's a lot of fear, right? So they're going through this world with a lot of fear, and they're making the decision based on fear.
Well, I think I had a few things going for me. I had no family support, so I had no help from my parents, no siblings to help me, nothing. I was completely on my own. So it was hard, it was a struggle, it was heartbreaking for me. People hear my story and assume that I was promiscuous. That was never the case at all. I had a really tough childhood, like a lot of you guys probably had. I did not have great parents. I was in a really messed up situation as a kid and didn't realize that I was making dumb choices either. So I picked a guy who took off, and that sucks, and I was heartbroken. But luckily for me, I did meet a good guy. And I think the only reason that I kind of was saved from the whole single mom situation is because my expectations were realistic. I was willing to be very submissive and cooperative with a good, virtuous guy. When I met Andrew, he didn't have a ton of money or anything like that. We were both young. We were both knuckleheads too, but we were well-meaning knuckleheads, I guess. And he was like, look, I think you're great. By the way, I also tried to break up with him because I thought he was way too good for me. And I was like, look, my life's a mess. Please don't. It's gonna be bad for you. And he was like, look, I'm fine with the situation as long as you're not gonna give me trouble, as long as you're not gonna fight me on everything. If we can do this together, then we can do this together. And that's what we did. And so since then, I've had to trust him, and I've had to not give him a bunch of shit, not fight with him over everything, submit when he says, look, honey, this is what we're gonna do. Even if I have reservations, even if I'm not so sure, I go, all right, I trust you because you're the leader and I depend on you, right? It's not easy for women to do that because we're trained that if you do that, you're gonna get abused, everything's gonna go horrible, so women are scared to do that. But if you find a good guy that at least has his basics, no guy's perfect, and they're all gonna learn, just like I had to learn to be a wife, he had to learn to be a husband. But if you have a more submissive attitude and you're like, I support you in whatever you have to do to support us, most good guys are gonna rise to the occasion and they're gonna take that challenge head on, and it's gonna motivate them to make more money, to try to be good providers. It's only when they feel like they're
there we go, and that's the gasoline right there, guys. Because now the responsibility is on you guys. So it motivates you. It does.
They're appreciated, and they constantly have to fight you on everything, usually, that they take off. Now, you might end up like I did with a guy who has a substance problem and he takes off. And that sucks. There's no perfect guarantees in life. But generally, most people's marriages break up because the woman just isn't going to submit ever. And so men are like, okay, why be the provider? Why be the leader if you're going to constantly fight me? I can't do that.
Yeah. I think I'm going to actually try that, the whole submissive thing, because I'm actually the opposite of a submissive. So I'm actually going to take that approach from this moving forward, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you how it went. So I'm going to try it.
It's not easy to trust, and they're going to make mistakes and they're going to get things wrong. They're not going to always be perfect, and you just got to be willing to, roll with the punches with your whatever guy you pick. If you pick a husband, you got to be in it to win it with him, and you got to support him no matter what. And if you do that, you're going to make it. That's how people did it in the old days. The one thing I did have going for me was I had an awesome grandma. She's still alive, by the way. She's 98 years old. She's kicking ass. She's awesome. And luckily I had her. And so she had this more kind of traditional mindset, and she would say Rach, this is where you're kind of going wrong, and this is what you should do different. And so it was really helpful to me to have her. But yeah, try it. If you have a good guy and you're like, okay, I can see this man has some virtue, try not being a terrible bitch to him. Try being like cooperative, try being supportive, and not fighting him on things. And you might be really like, it was hard for me, okay? I'm really opinionated too. I have a big mouth. I'm sitting here chatting and blah, 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 blah. But I was just like, all right, I'm gonna go all in and give this everything I've got. And I'm sure glad I did, because 17 years later, I mean, I have a rock solid marriage, and I love Andrew more every single day, so.
One quick thing before I have Eric jump in. That was great, Rachel. I'm sure none of it fell on deaf ears whatsoever. Eric, what do you have to say?
Shout out to Rachel. I really appreciate everything she said. And I told you that earlier, but I'm glad you heard it from a woman, so now you see what it is.
Yeah, no, like, I definitely hope to hear it from a woman.
Exactly.
Exactly.
See, but even that is a part of...
Yeah, even that's it's a problem, because that means that you despise men. You despise the man's opinion. That is a real problem.
What she's talking about. And one thing this generation don't realize is y'all are a part... It's like we lived in a movie. Y'all grew up in the credits. And y'all arguing about people who seen the movie talking about the credits. That's not the movie. The reality that you live in was crafted and made for you. It's not this organic like you think. You were made to think this way. You were designed to be put in a situation where it's hard for you to find a place because of what happened in the past. So when you have people that's from a different generation, we're not talking to you like we're better than you. We seen these narratives formulate in our time. So by the time you got here, it seemed like this is just how life is. This is not how life is. So I think you should really take advantage of what she told you, because it's the truth. And a lot of stuff that y'all talk about is from an emotional base. But this generation, I feel like y'all don't respect information and history. Like when she brought up those stats about the CIA, that shit was real. And you can't discard that when trying to evaluate the current social dynamic that you're in. Like, take heed what she said, because she dropped a lot of jewels on y'all. All she said was facts.
Yeah, like
a lot of jewels.
Like my main focus and how my mindset is simply because it came from my mother, and she is also she's like old fashioned, but she's also very independent. While she grew up, like
she's old fashioned, but she's independent. You see how she does that stuff? She just wanna take a piece of both sides just to avoid getting judged. You see what I'm saying? She's old-fashioned, but she's also very independent. How can you be old-fashioned and very independent? Make no sense.
You know, like on her own. No. But you know, like she is old-fashioned, but to a limit, to where she basically taught all of us to, like, you got this. You don't need anyone. You got it on your own.
But you gotta also think too, right? Sometimes parents raise, just because they are parents don't mean they know everything. And sometimes parents transfer their trauma to you. Yep. And just because they had a bad route and they made a bad decision, that don't mean you, because sometimes we overcompensate. If you grow up from in the inner city, you grow up with you don't have a lot of things. So then you overdo it with your children and think, I gotta buy them everything. Yeah. And you create a new monster. Just because you don't always have to learn through people's mistakes. Like, you can learn from other people's mistakes. And I think in your situation...
But like my mom didn't think like her life was bad.
I do have to move things on, guys. Unfortunately, do have to move things on. But we have a couple chats coming through here. One sec, guys. And we do need to, actually, before we get to the chats, we were going around the table on, do you think you'll be better looking in 10 years' time? Do we do you? I don't know if we...
Very good back and forward. I love that. Rachel Wilson's always put things in perspective, but I just want to listen from a woman kind of thing. It smells so misandrous. It smells a little bit of, the spice of man, but I might be wrong. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you next one.